Hey, welcome back. I'm going to do a core workout with you today. So we don't need anything. You can use a mat if you like, or just use the ground. Or you could use your bed in some cases for this. I'll show you a few different variations using other pieces of equipment, like a chair or something very simple that you might have at your house. So you might want to have one of those close if you already know that your core needs a little bit of work, or if you have back pain. I'll show you a few different variations and then just choose the one that's most appropriate for you. Okay, so we're going to start off on our backs with our knees bent. Good, and just lift your hips up a little bit, maybe drop them down very kind of gently onto the ground, letting your spine settle. The back of your pelvis, the flat, hard part of the back, should be able to rest nice and even on the ground. Knees are going to be bent to start with. You can probably feel a little bit of an inward curve at the lower back, so the lower back isn't necessarily touching the ground, or it's a little bit lifted off the ground. And then try to get the back of the rib cage flat on the ground. Shoulder blades nice and kind of settled into the ground, I guess. And the back of the neck fairly long without creating too much tension in the front of the neck. So now I want you to stiffen up your core. So if you kind of poke your fingers into your tummy there, try to not let your fingers in. So I usually say to my clients, don't let me in. Don't let me poke my fingers into your tummy. So you're going to stiffen up your core by doing that, pushing outwards all the way around the core to do that. And then bring one foot up off the ground and then back down to the ground and then switch to the other side. Trying not to let the position of your spine or the parts of your spine that are touching the ground, try not to let that change. So you're keeping it nice and stiff here as you release or lift one foot up and then the other, just alternating sides. Good. If you want to use your brain a bit, you can bring your arms up towards the ceiling. Good. And this time as you lift one foot, you're going to reach the other arm over your head. So kind of marching, one arm, opposite leg are moving. Keep the neck nice and long. Good, and again, nice and strong through the center of the core the whole time, going back and forth. See if you can get the hands and the legs moving, opposite hand and leg moving together. Stick your tongue out to try to figure that out if you need to. Often that helps. Good, nice and strong through the core here. Good, you can relax, arms out to the side, maybe bring the feet out a little bit wider and just drop the knees a little bit to one side and then the other. Kind of release the spine, relax your core a little bit. Good, so you can always go back to that same level, that same exercise, marching the feet, and as you're marching the foot, opposite arm reaches up and overhead, or if you'd like a little bit more, you can lift the arms up over your head, lift up one leg, extend the arm overhead, and then straighten that leg down towards the ground. That's your making it a little bit harder. Good, and then lift up the knee, extend the leg. The closer the leg gets to the ground, the harder that's going to be. Lift the leg, extend, and reach the arm up and overhead. Good, so you can make it a little bit easier for yourself by lifting the leg up a little bit higher, reaching towards the kind of the corner of the room or towards the sky, ceiling as the case may be, or get your leg closer towards the ground, alternating sides. Good. And keep that nice, strong stiffness through the core. Good, you maybe start to feel that core starting to work a little bit here. Continue to breathe. You want to keep the breath moving throughout. And I'm terrible at counting, so let's just do one more on each side. Good, and relax. Palms can face up, feet out nice and wide, and again, a little tick-tock of the knees side to side if that feels comfortable. If you prefer, you can always just stretch the arms and the legs out nice and long away from each other to kind of open up through the stomach muscles. So whatever feels right for you. So go back to either level 1 or the level 2 we were just doing, extending the arm and extending the opposite leg. Or if you'd like a little bit more work here, stiffen up through the core, bring one leg up, and then bring the other leg up. Your first leg comes down, your second leg goes down. We're going to switch to lead with the other leg, up, down, and down again. Try not to let the position of your spine change. Everything staying the same in the center of the core and through the torso. And you're having to work quite hard now to keep that neutral spine or that same position through the spine as you're lifting one leg and then lifting the second leg again. You're kind of removing that base of support there. Good. If you'd like, you could figure out the arms. Oh boy, I'm not going to be able to figure this out. Good. The left leg lifts up. Good. Even lifting the arms up to the ceiling is going to make it a little bit harder. Good. And if you'd like to, you can figure out some pattern with the arms. It doesn't really matter, to be quite honest, the pattern with the arms, as long as you're playing around with it a little bit, maybe the same arm, same leg moving. Oh, I can't figure it out. I just probably feel as the arms and the legs start moving together how that makes it a little bit harder. Keep breathing. Let's try two more. Good, and relax. Palms can face up. You can straighten your legs out along the ground, stretching your arms overhead, or I like to do a little bit of rotation through the torso, kind of helping to stretch out through the core there. Remember my cheat sheet here. All right, so next we're going to do is on our hands and knees. So you're going to roll onto your hands and knees. If you have sore knees or if you're on a hard surface, you can always put a towel or a cushion underneath the knees, or a couch cushion underneath the knees to support them. If it feels okay, tuck your toes underneath just to kind of open up through the bottom of the feet. Hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips. Good, and again, find that nice and long through the spine. So bring your head, slide your head up, drop your chin down, back of your neck is nice and long. Think about your tailbone kind of gliding backwards to the back end of the mat here. And from this position, keep your back nice and straight, like you've got a glass of ice water on your back. It's really full. Keep that nice flat back so that your spine isn't moving as you start to do this. You're going to straighten one leg out behind you. Keep your back nice and straight, nice and flat. Strong through the core again, that same core you had when you were lying on your back. Trying not to let the spine move here, not shifting side to side too much, and you're going to get that by tightening up through the core again. That same idea. Don't let your fingers in. If you're poking at your stomach, don't let me in. Good. Alternating sides, one leg lifts. Try to get the leg all the way in line with your torso, so like parallel to the ground. Not getting too much of an arch in the lower back, keeping everything nice and strong. Strong through the core. Keep that glass of ice water nice and firm on your back. Ice water or whatever other drink you don't want to spill. How about that? Let's try one more on each side. Keep pushing away from the ground with your hands, so you're not just letting your body collapse through. You're pushing away, you're actively using your shoulders. Bring your hands a little bit forward, bring your knees wide, and slide your hips back. Head can come to the ground. If your head doesn't touch the ground, you can stack your hands up so that your forehead can rest on your hands. Or reaching your arms forward, drop your head down. And this might be a good place. I'm going to move my hands so you can see, but this might be a good place to massage your forehead. You can always go back to that first level of this exercise. Spine nice and long from the back of the neck all the way down to your tailbone. Pressing into the ground with your arms, not rounding, but being active through the arms. Nice and tall, nice and long and neutral through your spine. Here's your next option. You can always go back to the first level. You can kick your right leg back, and as you do that, strong through the core, lift your left arm forward. Good. Bring it back to the ground. Try not to let that glass spill on your back. Left leg, right arm, and back to the ground. Keep it nice and still on your back. Good. Keep pushing into the ground with that standing arm. Reaching the other arm alongside your ear, off the ground anyways. You can even just reach towards the front of the mat if you're having shoulder issues at all. Good. Lengthening through the spine. Oh dear, someone's calling me. Good. Lengthen through the spine. Good. One more on each side. Good. And this time you can reach your hands a little bit further forward. Keep your toes tucked under. Lift your hips up and drop your head down towards the ground. This is actually a better, if you have difficulty with your knees, you can't bend your knees very much or they don't like that pressure on them. This is always a good modification of a child's pose, is to keep the hips lifted, dropping the head down. Just maybe even moving the knees back so that they don't have to bend too much. There's not too much pressure on them. Rest your forehead on the ground. Again, if it doesn't hit, the nice thing that might be nice is to roll up a little cushion or something and have it just close by so your head can rest on that cushion. That way you still get the lengthening through the back of the arms if that feels comfortable for you. And then coming back up onto your hands and knees. Remove that cushion. One final set here, the same exercise, toes tucked. You can go back to the first level, which is just a single leg switching, or you can go back to the second level, opposite arm and leg. Keep pushing away from the ground. Keep your spine nice and long and neutral. The third level is going to be one arm and the opposite leg. And then bringing your elbow towards your knee. So your spine is going to round here, which is fine. You're going to keep a nice strong core and then extend again, find that neutral position and back down to the ground. Good, so go back to level 1 or level 2 if you need, extending nice and long through your spine. Elbow to the knee, you can round, tighten up your stomach to round. Extend again and back down again. You should feel quite a bit of work through that standing arm. Work to push into the ground, arm extends beside your ear or towards the front of your mat. Elbow towards the knee. Cross your body. Extend. And then back down again. Switch to the other side, extending. Elbow to knee, crunch. Extend, keep this core nice and strong the whole time. Back down to the ground. Elbow to the knee. If you'd like to, you could push your knee into your elbow. Push your elbow into your knee. It creates a little bit more work, a little bit more heat. Extend again. Push away from the ground. Good. Lengthen through your spine. Fingertips to your toes are long, far away from each other. Elbow to the knee. Press your knee into your elbow. Press your elbow into your knee. Extend again. Back down. One more on each side here. Reach away. Elbow to knee and round. Push, push, push. Extend again. Push away from the ground with that standing arm. Touch your elbow to your knee. Push your knee into your elbow. Push your elbow into your knee. Extend again. Reach your arms forward. Drop your head down or side to side. Play around here. Turn the palms up to stretch the lats a little bit more into the back. And then coming back up. So if you have a little cushion or something, you can bring it for underneath your head, or you can use your arm as a little bit of a pillow. Lying on your side for this next one. You're going to stack your legs on top of each other, kind of in a crook position. I'll just show you about a little bit more than 90 degrees of the knees. 90 degrees at the hips, 90 degrees at the knees, a little bit more than 90 degrees at the hips here. And you're going to try to keep the hips nice and stacked. So maybe place your top hand on top of that hip. And flex your feet up, keep your feet together. Supporting your head, so you're looking straight ahead, hopefully. Hand is going to be on your hip. I don't want your pelvis to move, so stiffen up your core again. You might notice that creates a little bit of a lift at the bottom side of your waist here. So that's exactly what we're looking for. Your hips are touching, your rib cage is touching, your shoulders touching the ground, but maybe a little bit of a lift in the waist. Your flesh may still be touching, but your spine is nice and long. You're not kind of collapsing into the ground. You're lifting and lengthening. Lift the top knee off the bottom knee. And then back down again, try to keep the hip nice and still. Good, so you're this is called a clamshell. And you're strong again, always through the core to keep that little bit of a waist on the lower side. Keep that lengthening through the spine. Feet stay together, lifting that top knee off the bottom one. See if you can check to see if the rest of your body is stiffening up or if you can just keep it to the core. Keep your shoulders relaxed. Good, feet stay together. A little bit of a clamshell here. You should start to feel this in the outer hip, that top hip. Stay strong through the core, but relax through the shoulders. Good, and we'll try for 2 more. If you're a counter, I apologize. I'm pretty much a counter, except for when I'm talking, then I forget to count. Switch to the other side. You can either flip over, or you can just flip yourself like a pancake or roll over to face the other wall. A little bit more than 90 degrees at the hips, 90 degrees at the knees, feet together, feet flexed. Stiffen through the core, lengthening through that core, keeping the spine nice and long. Good. Lift the top knee off the bottom knee. You can feel the back of your hip into the back, a little bit back on the side of your hip. You might be able to feel those muscles kicking in here to do that the rotation of the hip. Good. You should be able to feel your core working, and that helps to keep the pelvis still. That stops you from kind of rotating everything to lift the knee. You're holding nice and stable and through the center to maintain that nice neutral spine, lifting that top knee off the bottom knee. Good, and just like we did on the other side, another 2. Perfect, good, and we'll switch back to the first side. Actually, just going to show you a little bit of a counter stretch before we jump to the other side. So lying on your back, place your ankle on the outside of your opposite knee and then pull that knee across towards the opposite shoulder. You should feel a stretch right in those muscles there that you were using. You can always put your thumb into your hip crease and push away to get a little bit more of a stretch in there, or less kind of pinching into the hip if you feel there's a bit of a pinch in the front of the hip. Mobilizing that hip with your own hand. Good, and switch to the other side. Gentle little stretch. Maybe the thumb goes into that hip crease. Knee comes across to the opposite shoulder. And just getting that little bit of a stretch in the outer hip on that side. Good. Get back onto your side. Part 2, you can always go back to that same clamshell little guy that we worked on before. Or you can straighten that top leg, but try to get the front of the hip nice and straight through the front of the hip. So your foot isn't in front of you, it's right in a straight line down from your hip. I'm going to move up a little bit higher so you can see that foot of mine, that lovely little sock with the holes in it. You're going to lift up your heels, so kind of let your toes drop towards the ground. Keep that opening through the front of the hip, lifting up the heel, stiffen through the core. So we want to still maintain that little bit of a waist on the lower side. And think about almost a string attached to your ankle or to your heel, lifting up. Good. Keep the leg in line with your hip. So keep bringing that leg back behind you a little bit. So it's a straight line through the front of the hip. Good. Strong through the core. So your whole body isn't moving. It's just your leg that's lifting. Your pelvis is staying very still. Love it. Shoulders relaxed. Just notice that my neck was tense doing this. So keep your shoulders relaxed. If you're doing that clamshell, same idea. Strong through the core. Feet stay together. Just lifting that top knee off the bottom knee. Let's try 2 more. Toes relax downwards. Good. Awesome possum. Switch to the other side. You can start with that clamshell position, or you can straighten that top leg out, open through the front of that hip, toes kind of hanging towards the ground. So there's like a string on your sock or on the outside of the ankle, lifting up towards the ceiling. Strong here. But this is staying nice and still. And you're kind of engaging through here as you're moving one limb and you're moving it against gravity. So it's having to work in the back of the hip there a little bit. Good. Shoulders relaxed, but your core strong. Back of the hip is doing this work. Love it. Love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's try 3 more on this side. I have no idea how many we've done. Good. And then lying on your back. You can either go back to that first stretch we did, knee coming towards the opposite shoulder, pushing into that hip crease to get a little bit of a stretch in the outer hip. If you don't like that one, your knee can drop out to the side, pushing that knee outwards, and you may be able to feel that quite easily in the outer hip. And if you don't feel that, if your knee's like way back there and you're not feeling that, you can pull your legs towards your chest. Hold on behind the opposite leg here. But only do that if you don't have to reach with your arms, your shoulders come off the ground. Only do that if you can keep the rest of your body exactly where it is. Otherwise, your hand to your knee, pushing out on the knee, or pulling across to the opposite side. It's hopefully giving you some tools so that you can start to figure out what works best for you, what stretches or movements work best for you, what feels best. So switch to the other side, knee to the opposite shoulder, or push the knee away. Or if you can keep your whole upper body still, you can hold on behind the opposite leg. Look at that sock. Oh dear. Okay. Good. First side. Last time on that first side. Lying on your side again. Go back to level 1 if you'd like, or level 2, or level 3. Lifting that leg up, pull it in towards the chest. Keep everything the same. Lift that leg back up to center, toes point down. Good. Heel lifts up, pull the knee in to center, strong through the core, back into that straight line away from you, and allow the leg to come down. So your core is having to work now as we're asking the leg and the hip joint to move in some different directions. Keep that leg lifted a little bit as your knee comes in. Shoulders stay relaxed, right? Right? Yep, she says, yep. Knee in towards the chest, strong through the core. Open up through the front of the hip. Lifting up through the outer heel. Yes, good. Let's try 3 more of these. Strong through the center of the body. Good. Keeping the waist on that lower side, whichever level you're doing. We're going to be feeling this one tomorrow, people. Good. That's good. Okay, and switch to the other side. We'll do our stretch to finish the second side. Again, level 1, clamshell. Level 2, those leg lifts. Keep that opening through the front of the hip. Lift the heel up, or level 3, keeping that leg nice and lifted, strong through the core. Keep the shoulders relaxed, keep your leg moving in the correct way, good. Back down, opening up through the front of the hip. You're stiffening up through the core. Oh, jeepers, I can't do 2 things at once. Or back down, lift the leg, pull the leg forward, back up nice and high, and then back down again. Strong through the core, so the rest of your body isn't moving. Oh boy, my leg is saying we got 3 more. But my leg is saying we have 1 more, but my mind is saying we should do 3 more. And then 1 last time. Up. In. Oh my gosh. Yes, love it. Good. Relax back down. So come onto your back. Choose your glute stretch, your outer hip stretch that you'd like to do for that one. I'm going to choose this guy. The ankle on the knee pointing outwards, pushing out a little bit. Now when you're doing this, just see that you can keep the back of the pelvis nice and flat. So your whole body isn't kind of twisting to do that. So some of us are so tight, or we're so stiff that our bodies don't want to get into this position. So they figure out whatever way they can. They kind of twist things above or below that to try to find that particular shape. So just be aware of that. The back of the pelvis flat. The hips maybe level. The bony part of the front of the hips are nice and level. And that might be enough, or even right there. I can feel that stretch, and I don't even need to push out on my knee. If I push out, what happens? Oh yeah, my hip slides down. Fascinating. All right, and the other side. Whichever your method is, your knee to the opposite shoulder or the ankle on the knee. Hips level, back of the pelvis nice and flat. The hard part of the back of your body nice and flat and level. Sweet. What's next, people? Oh, goodness me, I'm brutal. Okay. And then come back up. Okay, so this next one, don't freak out, is a plank. So you can do this one some modified ways. You can do it, so I've got a kitchen table here. You can do it on a table. I'm getting your body into a straight line here. Your hands are higher than your feet. If that's a little bit too easy, you could do it on a chair. That same idea. Your hands a little bit lifted. Okay, there's a few different options here. You could try either from your hands and with your knees as a pivot, or you could come down onto your elbows. It's a little bit harder from your elbows because you're kind of closer to the ground. Or if you're feeling up for it, you can try from your toes and pushing away from the ground. So choose your level to start with. Pushing away from the ground or the chair or the table. Drop your hips down a little bit so you can feel that straight line from your shoulders through your hips to your knees to your ankles. Breathing here, nice and strong through the core. If you start to notice your back starting to sag, pull in again from your belly. Push away from the ground. Like we did with that second exercise, your upper body is nice and active. And you can even pull your head back in line with your shoulders. Good, 3 more breaths here. Pull your belly in again, nice and strong through the core. Good, and coming back down. So if you're on the ground, you can bring the knees wide, sliding your hips back. If you're standing at the table and you just really can't make your way down to the ground, just drop your head between your arms. You do that from the chair as well, or maybe the back of the chair. Give you a little bit more of a stretch. A little bit of movement may kind of be nice for your body. Listen to your body. See what it's asking of you. It might be asking you to stop. Seriously, if this is really difficult and you're getting pain in your back and you can't correct that pain by stiffening up more in the core, go to a previous level. So go up to the chair, go up to the table, or if the table is too much, go to a wall and have your hands against the wall, your feet kind of stepping away from the wall. Any of those to make it a bit easier. If you can't correct discomfort in your back by using your core, then you need to just back off the exercise a little bit, make it a little bit easier for yourself. All right, take 2. Choose your position, and up you come into your plank position. Good, push away from the ground. Good, if you want a little bit more from this position, you can pull one knee into your chest and then come back to your starting position. Any of the levels you can do this with. Knee comes into the chest. Good, and coming into back to the starting position. Try to keep that body in a nice straight line. You're doing grand. Keep the breath moving. If you're on your elbows, you might need to bring your knee out to the side a little bit more. Might not fit underneath your body. Okay, one more on each side. Again, stiffen up through the core, through the front of your abdominals. I mean, everything I think is going to be working here. Good, and your knees can touch the ground, or you can drop your head between your arms if you're at the table or if you're at the wall. Just settling back. If you are in your hands on the ground, put your arms forward and then tent your fingers, which means come up onto your fingertips, lifting the wrists up towards the sky. Counter stretches the wrists as well. Good, final one. This is it, people. On your hand or on the chair, on the table, on the wall, come back into your plank position. You can always just stay with that first level, holding and breathing, keeping the upper body nice and active. Or if you'd like a little bit more of a challenge, touch your right foot out to the side, bring your right foot in. Touch your left foot out to the side, bring your left foot in. Good. Or just stay with that static position, focusing on the breathing, focusing on the hands, pushing away from the wall or from that support, and the body staying in a straight line. Beautiful, nice and active through the upper body. What am I doing here? Good. Touch your foot out to the side, back in. Good. And we're going to do one more time on each side. Touch out and in. Keep pushing away from that support. Good. And settling back down. Oh my, keep listening to the body. Find out what it wants to do. It might just want to roll onto the back and sleep. Or maybe it wants to wiggle a little bit side to side, little child's pose. Maybe the arm want to come down to the sides and the head can touch the ground or the head can touch a cushion. Maybe that feels nice, getting a bit of a stretch down the lower back of the hips. Good, and coming all the way back up again. Good, we're going to finish off with a little bit of opening through the front of the chest. So you can do this one sitting on the ground, either whatever position feels nice for you, cross-legged, sitting in a chair if you'd like. Sit up on a little something if you need a little bit more height to make it more comfortable. Good, and lift up your chest, stack your rib cage right on top of your pelvis, and turn the palms to face forward. We're just opening up through the front of the chest. A lot of that work in that plank position was kind of across the front of our body, so we're just bringing the hands a little bit behind us, maybe turn the palms to face forward. Good. Trying not to let your back just arch backwards. Try to keep your rib cage stacked on top of your pelvis and thinking about opening through the front of the chest here. Keeping the rib cage stacked on the pelvis. Well done. Rock on, people. Keep moving. See you next time.